Let's take a look at some charts, figures, and graphs on Uniswap for Brave New Coins. So Uniswap is a DEX, decentralized exchange. Concept is simple. Anybody can use it. It is permissionless. Anyone can pool tokens 50-50, act as a liquidity provider in the automated market making scheme. So it's really the basics of Uni at its core. Now let's look at some statistics. This is Dune Analytics. And if you compare Uni to all the other DEXs, it is basically 50% of the entire ecosystem. This is market share volume over the past 7 days. Uni in the pink here. If we look at number of traders in the past week, over 50% of the total traders on all the DEXs observed here. It just dominates all metrics that you can look at it from any angle you can look at it. Here's daily DEX volume, Uni in the pink, Sushi in the blue-purple there, the next highest volume. So most of the party is happening at Uniswap, and you see effects like gas being spent there is higher than everywhere else. This has all sorts of secondary effects relative to the other DEXs. So much like the centralized exchanges, if they're able to continue to improve upon scalability, move towards layer 2 solutions, fees will come down. And this is all just, if we clean up the yard that everybody plays in, it'll get better for everybody. So we can avoid that tragedy of the common situation that's basically happening with ETH right now and the fees. Weekly DEX volumes continue to increase. This is this week. That's why there's such a big drop lower. So it's not fully calculated yet. And market share is just surging since September, essentially 30% or more of the total market share between all the DEXs. If we look at volumes by month, February isn't over yet, so this may even eclipse January as a total volume high per month on a monthly basis. DEX volume group per year is obviously several multiples above any other month, any other time in the history of DEX volume ever. So all of this is playing a big role in exchange tokens, in the conversation around on-chain fees, the conversation and push towards layer 2 solutions. So we're pushing the envelope continuously here because lots of people love gambling on tokens on Uniswap. Really, that's what it comes down to. And you can slice and dice this a few different ways and look at other stuff. But ultimately, I'm really just focused on volumes, and I'm focused on unique traders, and I like to look at total trades or transactions as well on the exchanges. Something else I like to look at is the total value locked. I think looking at USD value locked is the least important because obviously ETH, BTC, or anything else will have volatility. So if most of the DEX value locked is in ETH, that's going to have a variable USD price, right? I want to see, since, this kind of tells the whole story, really. Since late last year, has this total ETH locked gone up or down? And it's just flat and stagnant. And this isn't what you want to see if you're bullish. Certainly not if you're bullish ETH, but even if you're bullish on the DEX token, I want to see growth, right? I want to see week over week growth. I want to see month over month growth. I want it to be perpetual, ruthless, taking over the world, classic capitalistic mentality, right? And it hasn't really done so since November, partially because of increasing competition, just better yield elsewhere, whatever. The DAI, though, has gone up and down pretty dramatically. But in total, it's a small aggregate of the little less than 4 billion, closer to 3.4 billion in total value locked. So it'd be great for ETH if the TVL increases, but it's also good for the Uni token and the exchange if the TVL begins to increase, because that says they're doing something better than competition. They're attracting users in some way that competition isn't. So the last thing you want to see is TVLs go way down on DEXs. If we focus in on the token, the Uni token transactions in the red line, average transaction values in the green. As price goes up, so does average transaction values. Transactions per day hit an all-time high aside from the initial token distribution. So there was a 294,000 wallets addresses received the Uni token, and that's not usually not sustainable on the initial airdrop. But ever since then, it dipped in late last year and is just increasing slowly but surely since January. So that was certainly bullish. If we look at NVT, inverse metric of economic utility, and active addresses for the token specifically, not the exchange. Active addresses slightly up. I mean, we're talking 11,000 addresses versus 2,000 in late December, so nothing crazy. But it is a 5x, so it makes sense that prices increased with transactions per day with active addresses. NVT, the lower the NVT, the more bullish price tends to be, because it says that on-chain activity is increasing despite market cap not keeping pace. So to see NVT at lows or near historic lows is certainly what you want to see if you're bullish on a token. Here's Uniswap Google Trends. You can type in Uniswap, or you can type in DeFi or DeFi crypto and sort of poke around, but the Google Trends are basically matching the mid-late 2020 highs. So lots of people searching and looking at Google Trends. This is worldwide. You can look at your country. You can look at where all this is happening. Curiously, a lot of spiking in China for Uniswap, which may explain some of this stuff recently. Moving on to technicals, Uni hasn't been listed. It hasn't existed very long, so you have to zoom in a little bit. You look on the 4-hour, and for the most part, everything DeFi sort of consolidated mid-November to January. Post-January, it exploded, and now it's probably going to lean back into consolidation type activity as you hit some sort of bubble highs, some sort of 10x multiple. This wasn't, well, maybe it was a 10x. We'll say from 3 to 30. That's a 10x, right? So at some point, price gets so top heavy. So many people say, okay, I've made enough money here, right? Most people, in general, do not hold everything forever. Most people do not have diamond hands. Most people will trade this one way or another, whether it's mentally or physically or whatever you want to think of it as. People who are buying or holding from 3, even getting the airdrop, most likely these people are continuously selling on the way up because their windfall gets bigger and bigger and bigger. People start getting life-changing type money, regardless of what the token is. So if things go up too fast, too quickly, over basically a month and a half, went from 3 to 30, people are going to start cashing out, and eventually the sell side overcomes the buy side, and you have a stagnation in highs here, which is fine. This isn't like a massive bearish picture here. So I like the 200 for support at around 20. I like 15. I like the yearly or the monthly pivot at 15. I like the next monthly pivot down at 8. I think anything between 8 and 10 looks like a fine buy. That's over 50% from the highs. If it does get that catastrophic, I think that is a decent buy and hold for me. That's where I'd want to be buying. I really don't want to be buying at a 10x multiple over 45 days. I'd rather buy at some crazy wick low that has some capitulation. VPVR is telling you there isn't really a lot of volume here until sub 8, really, and most of the volume historically has been between 250 and 550. If we look at the 4-hour cloud and VPVR, zoomed in a little bit, you had your breakout signal in January, cross-recross on the cloud in mid-January, and ever since then it's pretty much been a clean bullish trend and a few more cross-recrosses, and now it looks a little tired. It looks like it needs some consolidation, needs to figure itself out a little bit. There's a decent amount of volume support between 18 and 22, so it'll probably attempt a reconsolidation there. But below that, based on VPVR, you're looking at 15, you're looking at 10, and you're looking at 5. I mean, that's just, psychological levels, because that's how it is. People are people. So if it's a sub $100 price, you're looking at all the $5 intervals on the way up. If it's above $100, you're looking at $10 to $50 intervals usually for psychological support resistance. So I like 5, 10, 15, 20, more so towards 10 or less as far as support is concerned. So it doesn't flip bearish on the cloud until it's below 19 basically over the next week. So I do expect this to flip bearish, which is fine because then it makes the entry signal much cleaner as far as when to relong. You know, this entry signal is obvious versus anything after that. Do you buy the Kijun? Do you buy the Cloud? Do you buy the Tenkin? Do you just keep adding at highs? You know, that's a lot less stupid proof than, okay, it dipped below the Cloud, now it's above the Cloud, buy, right? Like, that is so obvious. As a trader, that's what I want to see. I just want it to be obvious, right? I don't want this will she or won't she, can it or won't it hold at 20? Do I buy the lows? Where do I put the stop loss? You know, all that sort of stuff. I want to buy strength. I don't really want to buy into weakness. Here's Uni BTC on the 4-hour, and it's basically sitting at neutral territory. It's in the Cloud. It's at the VPVR support level. It's a bit of a do or die situation here. Definitely a wait and see. Will this pop back above the Cloud? Collectively, cumulatively, there isn't some massive pattern here since late January that's screaming a bias one way or the other. If this level doesn't hold, really 03, I guess, has support. You know, if this level doesn't hold, it's definitely revisiting the lows, and if those lows don't hold, then I'd be looking to 03. So you can see when this flipped bullish and how that reacted. And you can see historically how this has trended. You know, it trends really well. It trends bearish and then bullish with some noise in between. And we're gearing up between the noise in between. You know, this is all just noise in between the trend. It's ranging. Previously it had this head and shoulders thing, tried to break down, didn't, pop back up. So now it's in a bit of a no man's land. So trend-wise, it's definitely neutral. If we zoom out even to the 8-hour, it's still above the 8-hour Cloud. It's above the monthly support. It's above this VPVR level. So there's a decent case to be made that this is just going to remain sideways for a couple weeks, make a decision. You know, if it breaks below Cloud support, it's definitely headed to 03 minimum. You know, the support grows as you go down with a monthly pivot at 25,000 sats. So between 30,000 and 25,000, that's where I'd expect the real bottom to be if this level doesn't hold. So overall, Uniswap, it's the leader in the DEXs. It's doing things it should be doing. It's got market share. It's got people power. It's got growth. It's got TVL. It really needs to address the competitors, the other chain competitors, such as BSC, even though BSC has tons of volume washing and, you know, anytime you compare one chain to another, you always have to look at the specifics, the addresses. You have to get into the nitty gritty, because if transactions are essentially free on one chain, that's great. You know, if you're comparing Tron to Bitcoin, for example, just like you might be comparing Binance Smart Chain to ETH. There are all sorts of reasons why the ETH people or the BNB people want their chain to succeed, so they will try to manipulate things in a way to make it look as though one is better than the other in the interim, and maybe not explain decentralization or fees or, you know, all sorts of conflicting interests that they may have. The better that things like Uni and ETH can scale, can continue to innovate, the more successful the token price will be. It's just really that simple, because that'll attract more users to DeFi, more users to the DEXs. On-chain stuff still looks pretty good. Google Trends look good. Technicals look fine on the USD pair. I'd look to support between 15 and 20 with the ultimate dip buying opportunity between 5 and 10. I know that's a massive range, but when it's up 10x in 45 days, and then that's what we get. On the BTC pair, it's definitely wait and see. If the lows don't hold, it's likely going to 30K sats. And if you want to check out how we are trading this over at Technic Capital, you can pop on over to enzyme.finance. We will soon have a DeFi fund that you can track, copy trade, contra trade, just look at what's going on, see what the trades are, see what the allocations are, and all that sort of fun stuff.